Edward.
Mhm.
Good to catch up with you.
Thank you. Same with you. Same with you. It's been a while.
So where are you these days?
Back at home, back in Killarney. Been here since February and just been working away. Not enjoying the Irish weather, anyways. Not used to it. So yeah, that was a
And
hard pill to swallow.
yeah, definitely is. I remember our early days, our advertising campaigns used to consist of escape the cold and the wet in the winter of Ireland and head to the sun of Florida.
Yeah,
And it was
it's a
like,
big upseller.
click.
The big upseller. You don't have winter anymore when you're there.
So I suppose for everyone who doesn't know, and most people mightn't, when did you head to Florida?
So I head to Florida at the end of 2021, around October, November, and I stayed in the States for about a year and a half until I
Yep.
left in February of this year, 2023.
Cool.
I could have stayed longer if I chose to.
Yep.
With our visa, it lasts up to 3 years,
Yep.
including the extensions. But due to personal stuff, I decided to head home early. Not
Yep.
saying I'm done with it though.
And where were you before you went to Florida?
I was actually just working in a hotel in town, the Brehon, 4-star hotel, high-end 4-star hotel. Yeah, yeah. In which I was notified about this program through staff within it.
Yeah, I think we had to owe Kieran a special shout out and thank you for helping you.
He was one of the many names that mentioned it. He was one of the many names that mentioned it. So
And Windsor Country Club is where you ended up.
Windsor Country Club is the one I picked.
And what made you
Absolutely
look
nothing.
into it in the first place? What made you sort
The
of
the
figure out,
program
well, I want
itself
to
or
move to the
Windsor?
States?
The program itself or Windsor?
The whole the whole idea of maybe relocating out of Killarney and moving over to America and working in the US hospitality industry.
Yeah, well, it was going to go one of two ways. I was either going to move away to Spain to pursue in English teaching, or I was going to do this for a couple of years. And my original standpoint was just to save some money.
Yep.
So I did some digging into this and realizing there was a lot more benefits just making some savings. If you're smart with it and you take this opportunity to its throat, it's phenomenal. Like I've built so many connections over there that I can benefit from. You meet so many new people and you say hi and goodbye to so many good people at your time in your time there. You build a better structure for yourself, I think, when you're over there, and it's healthier because of the sunshine. So my original stamp, I was really supposed to be there for 4 or 5 months. I was going to call it a day afterwards, but I fell in love with it and I kept it going then.
And how did you find the initial process from when you way back had applied to us here at B, and then going through you would have been part of a crew that had to do the assessment tests, which I think most people are grateful we've sort of got rid of for this year, and then video clips, and then on into the interviews and the rest of the process. Like, did you find it? I suppose what parts were challenging and what parts were enjoyable?
I think the procedure to be accepted into B was it was simple enough. I thought it was a very smooth process into getting it. And video clips, if you've never done video clips, might sound worrying at the start. They're really not. You're just talking to a camera with someone else on the other side of it. With the assessment test wasn't, even though that's not there anymore, it wasn't difficult either. Talking to you wasn't difficult. Just have confidence in yourself. Like,
Yep.
are you really gonna struggle and feel under pressure and have a chance to not go to the States because you're a little nervous on a camera?
And I think it's funny. It's one of the things we would always discuss after the interviews, because obviously I'm in and out of the interview room with the interviewers, and they would themselves would notice. Oh, you could tell somebody was a bit nervous, but that doesn't worry them. They're like, that's fine. Like, people are going to be
Yeah,
seeing not
yeah.
everyone
Like,
likes
even if
getting
you're
onto
like,
a camera. So
it's good to be nervous, but at the
yeah,
same breath, definitely show some more confidence in yourself. And if you stutter, you stutter. If you mess
yeah.
up, or if you even swear by a mistake, just
Mm.
it's okay. Take a seat back. You'll be fine.
And how
There's
did you find the interview itself? Which it was Ralph and Michelle, I believe, in Dublin. We were up in the Westbury.
The interview itself was great. Ralph he's a firm man, but he's a very easy man to talk to. You know, he doesn't really
Yep.
sugarcoat anything. Neither does Michelle when the two of
Yep.
them were together. They ask question, you answer the question. That's it. They don't look for a long backstory behind it. So
Yeah, I think they definitely know what it. I know it's the same for all the clubs. They definitely know what it is they're looking for, what they
yeah.
want. And like you sort of said a bit earlier, like not every club is for every person, and not
Hmm.
every
Hmm.
person is for every club. So even though you might interview with a Windsor Country Club, you might
Yeah.
decide, I just watched the meeting
Yeah, you
yesterday,
might
and
like,
you
nah, this
yeah, and you
this ain't
might
for me.
interview with a Boca West, and you might decide, God, I love Boca West, and that's why I want to work with it. And
Yeah.
that's sort of part of the process for both sides. It's like the clubs are equally as focused and engaged on the fact that Edward might have multiple clubs interviewing him, and it's one of the pieces I suppose I get the best chuckle out of as we go through the interview season. Like the amount of people who get out of interviews, like they were like, that was a hardcore sales pitch. Like why I should say yes to them. I'm like, of course it was, because they know you're interviewing with two other clubs,
Yeah.
and they're going to offer you, and they want you to say yes to them, not to the other clubs. So
Yeah.
sort of
It's
has
like
to
a little
work.
competition for them as well when it comes to hiring staff. You have to remember there's so many clubs out there, and there's only so many of us,
Yeah,
that these clubs have to be smart in who they hire and how
yeah,
quickly they can do it as well.
yeah.
So
And
use that to an advantage if
yeah,
you
and I think
know
they
that.
realize as well, like it's it's not an interview about your skills and your ability to perform the job. It's more an interview about your passion and enthusiasm to want to go over there, and then have you got that attitude and personality
Hmm.
that they know their members are going to like, and are you going to be able to engage and chat with their members? And then do they believe you're going to be a good
Yeah.
fit for the team? Because that above all is what they hire for. It's really
Yeah.
culture and fit, not experience.
Absolutely. And that was the way Windsor was. Like, regardless of the experience, obviously the experience brought me to that point.
Yeah,
But that wasn't the experience that I would use over there. The way
yeah,
Windsor have their team is structured, we call it the Windsor way. Where they basically kind of whatever you do that they don't kind of, appreciate, they'll build you into their system
yeah.
ever so slowly. So you might have the most minute experience in the industry. They'll train you their way.
Yep.
And their way is very good. When it's specifically if you're going to other businesses then and they realize he's from Windsor, he's there, he's
Yep.
this.
So you obviously had a good bit of training when you landed over in Windsor. Like I know you'd already a lot of experience yourself, but as you said, it always seems to be very much okay. It's great, you know what you know, but sort of like forget that to a
Forget
certain
that part.
extent. And
Yeah.
here's how we do it in our country club.
Yeah.
And I think while there are definitely skills that you can transition into any hospitality industry, for
Hmm.
me, it's one of the things I always try and sort of harp back to is though like a role as a server isn't a role as a server the same in every single business. Like
Hmm.
the way you would operate as a server in Windsor is completely different to the way you might operate as a server in Boca West or in the Breton Hotel because they're set up different and the
Yeah.
operations are different. The way the restaurants or the bars are laid out are different. So you sort of have to, I suppose, make sure that yes, somebody is got the skills to be able to do the job, but then you show them how you do it, or as you said,
Yeah.
you show them the
Because
Windsor way.
everything's different, even when it comes down to the simple order of a customer. When it comes to an order from anyways the members from our club, compared to a customer down on the brand, you
Yep,
could have two long pages just for two items.
yep,
Compared to the brand, you have one full page and you have four to five items, just like
yep.
that. It just depends on your on where you are and how you're able to adapt.
So let me ask you this question then, if you can take yourself back to, so we'll move on through, let's say, the police clearances and the medicals, because we've covered that a good few times with people, and we'll obviously walk everyone through that in September. And I don't think there's any major hiccups or problems or issues there. It's more just you have to go through the process.
Hmm.
So meeting at Dublin Airport the day you're flying out, like what's the feelings like then? Like obviously you've sort of been chatting to people through Zoom calls and you sort of
Yeah.
know them, but you really don't know anyone, and all of a sudden it's like, right, so we're all together
Yeah,
for the next.
leaving that was a very it's a very unique feeling that you'll rarely experience because number one, there's so much ahead of you that you're aware of.
Yep,
You're flying into Florida. You don't know where you could be in 6 months' time or a year's time. You could be here for next 1, 2, 3 years, but you're also saying goodbye to a lot of people from in your past. I feel like people don't understand that yet. I feel like a lot of people do need to get that into their heads. You can leave whenever you want.
mm,
That's not, no one's stopping you. But if you do want to pursue in this, and especially for a longer period of time, you know, you got to have that in your head that you might not see some of these people for a while or a long time. And that's it, you know, that kind of shows the character you are
Hmm?
if you're able to understand that. So that day was like, I'm not seeing you for 2 years. I'm not seeing you for 2 years. Goodbye, goodbye,
Yeah.
goodbye. And it's like, okay, well, let's go. And that's
So
it.
let me ask you this question then. So for somebody who, in your own mind, as you said there earlier, was going for 4 or 5 months and sort of that was it, we're going to call it a day. What made you then decide to extend and go on up to one of the northern clubs for the summer season?
Opportunity. It's very hard to say no to when a club up in Illinois is offering you a contract. You might constantly have the answer no in your head, but when you're sent the email of a contract of where you're going to be, how long you're going to be, how much the wage is going to be, you're going to be like, yes, like of course. You're not going to see that stuff when you're back at home. So when you're getting contracts like that, all of a sudden your no that you've had in the last 3, 4, 5 months in your head will within a millisecond just change to a yes. And then when you sign, you're like, you don't you're like, okay, I'm going up north and guess, and you keep it going, you keep it rolling. And the same thing when you're going back down south, because you're going to meet a whole new crew of people up there, and a whole new bunch of members, a whole new bunch of connections. You're going to experience new things, cool things, and go to places that you dreamed of going when you were a little bit younger. So why say no?
So so I'm curious then as well, for somebody who was looking at potentially, I'm going to go teaching, or I'm going to maybe go and do this thing in the States. And
Mhm.
then even as you said, like, okay, now I'm going to do this thing in the States for 4 or 5 months, and it ends up being longer than 4 or 5 months and longer than a first contract. I mean, obviously you did a good job in your first contract and you enjoyed the country club hospitality lifestyle enough to want to go and look at another country club and do another 4 months. And now
Mhm.
you're home in Ireland, but you're obviously looking to go back over in October. And again, I know you've done a good enough job with Windsor because Windsor have automatically offered you a spot to come back without having to go through the interview process again. So, what makes you now think? Because it sounds like maybe this is a career I want to pursue in the country clubs over in the States for a couple of years.
So again, it's a very difficult thing to explain. It's when you're over there that's when it kind of happens. You know, you find a kind of newfound love for the industry when you are over in these country clubs, because these country clubs, I don't know how to compare them regarding the places where everyone works now, but this is high end. This isn't cost. These aren't customers. These are members, residents, so to speak, all with money, all with a background. It kind of makes you kind of like, this is a bigger challenge that you want to complete it, you want to ace it. It's a unreal uh, experience nor position to have, and the opportunities you have, not just within those 1, 2, 3 years, but in the future as well, either in the States or out of States, is again, they come to you
Yeah.
essentially. What I was mentioning earlier on about connections, these connections that you could get if you just know how to talk to these people, talk to Americans. You are in for such a advantage, I think,
Yep.
in not only your career, your health as well, your wealth, everything, if you just know how to talk. So
So, what would you say was the biggest difference you noticed between, let's say, if you fast forward 3, 4 months down the road working at Windsor, what's the biggest difference in the day to day job compared to the day to day job in a hotel in Ireland?
there's definitely a structure, a concrete structure with Windsor's operating system compared to not just with my job, but the majority of jobs you'd find at home. There's a set schedule that not everyone is forced to go by. It just happens. That's just the way it's ran. Windsor are actually very lenient when it comes to, we do a lot of split shifts, for example. Now, split shifts to the common ear sounds like a horrible thing. It really isn't. It's not that bad. You're given breaks. You have a break room. You can sleep if you want. You can do what you get fed at work, good meals at work. You travel to and from. Now, again, this is with Windsor. It might be different for your club. You get travel to and from work, no cost. Everyone is just on sync. Everyone's in sync with each other. There's a lot of chemistry within a team that only knew each other for a couple of weeks, compared to what you have at home.
what part do you think does it play in? Because it sounds like it was a more enjoyable experience working in the hospitality industry in the country clubs than it was
Mhm.
potentially working, and from your own friends that you would know working in the hospitality industry, in the traditional hotel hospitality industry. And it's not just the Irish one, it's just the traditional hotel hospitality industry. Would it be anything to do with in the country clubs that we obviously discussed that yes, you get the training how to do it the Windsor way, but it sort of sounds like as well it stems from they actually have a way, they actually have a process and a procedure that everyone plays their role in to make sure that nobody is getting overwhelmed, expected to do everything, and if
Yeah,
everyone just does their little piece of the pie, you
yeah,
can constantly
yeah.
deliver this exceptional level of service.
Yeah, there's none
Um,
of that. There's no, as in, there's no one person's doing everything. That doesn't happen.
yeah,
In the clubs I've worked in and the clubs that my friends have worked in,
yeah,
no one person is doing two or three other people's jobs.
yeah.
Because if those two or three other people aren't doing those jobs, they'll be called out within
Hmm.
nanoseconds. Not unlike your home where they could just get away with it, you know? So,
So let me ask you this question as well, because like it's easy. I find I'm having this conversation a lot, and I sometimes I'm mindful that it sounds like I'm just preaching and giving back, I suppose, to the industry back here in Ireland,
mhm.
to where they are not, they don't have themselves set up enough for success, or it's easy to do it. But if you were to look at it from another point of view, like, would you say the fact that each of you only had a certain role to play within, say, the restaurant team that were delivering service for that night, that there was a more of an opportunity for you to be able to exceed the members' expectations and deliver a better service and potentially even to be able to upsell starters and desserts and wines and coffees and drinks to those members because
Ab-
you had
yeah.
time to focus on them as opposed to running around trying to set a table, clear a table, seat a table, run a food, get a drink, take an order, and it's
Mhm.
like you just get overwhelmed.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of time is taken off you. That a lot of that time consisting of obviously helping other staff. Again, it's not really a thing that needs to be done. You know, everyone is good enough, and especially good enough as a team that they can work in their own little sectors or sections. So when you have all that free time, all of a sudden, something you're not used to, that's where the upselling begins. That's where the talking begins, getting to know your customer and all of that aside, a lot of these restaurants are fine dining restaurants. You got to know these people anyways. You
Yeah,
got to spend time with these customers. You don't have the time to be going to other tables in a fine dining restaurant. Your 3 to 4 to 5 tables, or your 3 to 4 to 5 tables for the whole night. Okay, you should know everything with these tables before by the time the night ends.
yeah,
And that's, I think, the big difference of it all. Even in our casual dining restaurants that we have as well, it's very getting to know, getting to upsell, getting to see what they like and don't like. And when you realize that in country clubs, it's like you're going to see a lot of these members over and over again. You're going to start knowing something about this member.
yeah,
Oh, Mr. Fingleton here is gluten free. Mr. Carey here, his favorite drink is tequila on the rocks. You
yeah,
just start knowing these things and you start giving it without them asking. And that's how you start getting to know these members
yeah.
by remembering what they like and don't like, what they have.
And let me ask you this question if I can. What position were you in with Windsor?
So my first season, I was a server with Windsor. And in my second season, then I switched to a bartending role in
Okay.
Windsor.
And had you, I'm sure you had some assistant servers within the team at Windsor.
Yeah, we did. We did.
Okay, so maybe help explain to the people who don't understand, and even I think sometimes to the managers working within the hospitality industry, the benefits of the assistant server role.
Yeah.
I constantly try and sort of explain it to people like it's a great opportunity for somebody who's no experience really in the industry, but has a good personality and has a good attitude for them to come in and, like it says, assist the server by
Yeah.
doing maybe the more basic jobs, but understanding as well. Also, this is how a server acts and deals in Windsor Country Club or in the Breton Hotel or in wherever it is. And then they can develop and grow their skills and their knowledge to become a great server without being thrown into deep end and
Yeah.
not knowing what's going on and then getting stressed out and wanting to leave.
Yeah. So basically, with the assistant server, it's a you're there to obviously shadow the server. All right, and whoever will be joining any club will be shadowing a server that's been there or that knows the system, right?
Yep.
So with the assistant server, you'll understand it when you're doing it yourself, but essentially you're there to pour water for the members. You were there to collect the plates or collect the empty glass, or to offer bread and butter, offer another drink, and all that. Now it sounds like this is server. These are server things to do. It is. I'm not saying it isn't, but the server, as we were mentioning earlier on, has this new time to start knowing the member, start learning about the member, start understanding likes and dislikes, start upselling a product to said member. And the items you will have there to try and upsell are a lot different to the items you'll have back at home. You know,
Yep.
the wines that are up to hundreds, nearly thousands, easily.
Yep.
The assistant server is there to learn the structure from a third person view. And once they slowly gain more confidence, they'll start talking more without the server even asking them. All of a sudden, you can see the transition of an assistant server turning into a server when it comes to speaking to members, upselling products, even the simplest pouring the water. You start seeing it.
Yep.
And that's what an assistant server is like. It's not a permanent job, because over time you will build that character in you to do your own section, and there you are.
Let me just, was there any assistant servers when you were there in your first season that by the end of the season were servers?
Yeah. The majority,
no
I
sort
think,
of set time. It's more when you're ready and when you're confident. And I suppose when the server you've been shadowing and assisting is like, John's more than capable of looking after a few tables on her own. And I suppose I first came across it in the States when I was on my own J1. And I remember coming home to Ireland and thinking to myself, like, it was just so easier to deliver consistently high levels of service and almost be looking forward to the next group that were about to sit at the table, as opposed to going, when are they going to stop coming in for dinner?
Yeah. It's weird when you get back home. It's actually kind of hard to get your mind out of that structure. It's very difficult. Obviously, places at home are extremely different, and every place is different from another. But when it comes to the style you're used to, when the how you serve, how you talk to people, what way you walk and talk, how you drop a glass, how you serve, it's completely different. And it actually took me, I think, a bit bones of a month to kind of get myself kind of comfortable with the job I'm currently in now, because I'm so used to the casual and fine dining and the members and not just regular customer. And it's just, it is cool the way it messes with you a little bit. That's what you're used to now.
Let me ask you this question. If Edward Carey was opening up his own restaurant in the morning, what would be, say, the one or two things you've learned in the country clubs that you didn't previously have, say, in your arsenal, that you would we definitely have to do this if we're going to be successful?
Oh, God, that's a good question. Have assistant servers. It does make things a lot easier. There's less mistakes. There is less mistakes when it comes to the experience for the customer, and from start to finish. The upselling, as we mentioned already, is a big thing. Getting to know your customer is a big thing. Getting your customer to a comfortable point where they could talk to you and they could feel somewhat safe with you is a big thing. A lot of places don't really understand that. It's like when you see a server, you see a server, and the server sees you. They don't see you as anyone but a customer. Whereas I feel like if you do it in a unique way, you get them comfortable, all of a sudden you're able to upsell with them. You're able to talk to them. You're able to understand a couple of things. You're able to get a TripAdvisor, which is great for the business back at home, because TripAdvisor is unholy competition at the moment. You are able to get them to come back, get them to basically be a brand ambassador for your business by telling everyone else about it. I think that's a big thing that a lot of places don't do here. There's not a lot of comfort.
What about, if I can just interject there, what about team briefings?
Team briefings is a big thing. That's you have about 2 to 3 of those a day. depending on how long you're there, 2 to 3 of those a day. And everyone knows their part. Everyone knows what the other person's doing. And that's it. You know, you could obviously go out and question something in those team briefings. So the team briefings there for, but that is it. That's the structure, and everyone sticks to that structure. Whereas back at home, from jobs I remember in the past, you go in and you just look at a board or something, and there you go. Have fun.
Or there's almost a touch of the Chinese whispers. It gets something that somebody was told at 8 a.m. in the morning by a manager or supervisor. Just
that doesn't work. No.
And by 8 p.m. at nighttime, it's like, what are we doing?
That's what I mean. We'll go back to the concrete structure that Windsor, I know, and what Lakeshore, the club in Glencoe, Illinois, has as well. The two of them both had similar structures with one another, similar sized clubs as well, which was great. But with these concrete structures, there was little to no mistakes had on a day-to-day, regardless of what restaurant you were in. So
question then as well, if I can just pick up on something else that you mentioned there, I'm just curious on. It sounded like because of this training that's put in place and these structures and systems that the clubs have, and the way the team sort of has a responsibility to do within the team for service for a period of time, and then you incorporate these daily briefings to sort of make sure everyone's aware of what's going on for this service period and what the specials are and who's doing what role. It almost eliminates a lot of opportunity for the team to go on disappearing, or to not do what they're supposed to do, or to drop the ball on stuff, or like, it almost, to me, it creates a lot more focus on, I'm here, I'm present.
You are here,
I better get the job done because I can't hide.
And and that is exactly what you said is exactly true. And besides all of that as well, you have to remember as an employee there, it's like you can be watched. If you make mistakes like that, or you're purposely disappearing, you are going to be put on a watch list essentially. And you have to remember as well, if you are going over to the States, if you do, let's say, get too many of these issues and they decide to let you go, it's not like leaving one job and going finding another as you would here within the same day. If you get let go in a job over in the States in a country club, you're going home. I think that's the big reality that people need to understand. It's not like those summer programs over in like Greece, like Zante in Spain. It's a similar traits, but there's a completely different structure and way of doing things when it comes to these American opportunities.
And it almost sounds like, with the structure again in place, like if your responsibility is the server and I'm the supervisor on duty for the shift, and I look over at your tables and there's a member sitting there like flagging me down, it's easy to see, where's Edward? Because that's his job, no one else's job. And when I find Edward and he said, I was in checking on the food, why? That's the expo's job. Or why? That's the assistant server's job. Your job
exactly. It's like, what were you doing?
Where your members can see you. So
now don't get me wrong. Of course, you're gonna meet those people that are just like that. Where regardless of how perfect you were in your position that night, you're gonna have a member that's like that, and you'll experience that yourself. Once you just know how to explain it to your boss, your captain, or your supervisor, it's fine. But yes, what you were saying is, what were you doing? You didn't really notify us of what was going on. You know, you have the expos there, the assistant servers there, you have the bartenders there. If you had to collect some drinks, if the assistant server was doing something else with the table, cool, you know, but assistant servers there. So why is
not funny? I suppose from my own experience, and even obviously when I was down in the Breton, working with the team down there for a period of time, or in any of the places I worked in, as a manager, one of your biggest challenges is trying to find where is the person who's supposed to be doing the job. And when you finally track them down, they have 4 different excuses or reasons as to why they were doing someone else's job. And it's almost like this knock-on effect as to, well, hold on, like if we could all just reset and just do the job you're here to do, then our guests get the service they want, and then I don't have to be running around trying to spend 20 minutes figuring out why didn't the server get the ketchup.
It's very different, as well as that, from what we were going previously mentioning, with, you know, you can't really mess up this job. If you want to pursue something in the States, you can't mess it up. You can't, because if it's something you really want to do and truly want to do and experience, and go to all the places in America, messing up is eliminated completely. You can't.
It
So
reminds, yeah, it reminds me of when I did my own hotel management, and part of our training was a philosophy that, okay, so we've shown you how to set the table, and
mhm.
you've shown us you know how to set the table, and because we just watched you do it. Now, can we have a little understanding and agreement that every time from now onwards that you don't set the table correctly, it's because you just chose not to, not because you don't know how to or you're not able to. You just decided, I'm just not going to do it correctly today, and that's not acceptable. And it was like,
Yeah,
sure. So
yeah.
you are sort of like, after that, as you said, like,
It's essentially that. It's
yeah, if you
it, it,
decide
it yeah.
not to progress or you decide to mess up, it's because you just didn't want to. It's not because
If
you
they
weren't
know
able
you
to.
could do it once, that's all they need. That's
Yeah.
that box ticked. So if they see you not doing it, there's problems like straight away.
So what are you hoping to get out of heading back over this time around? Like, are you hoping to do a couple of years? Are you hoping to develop and grow a career in potentially country clubs, or is it
Mm.
explore and see what happens? Or
But it's more explore and see what happens. Like priority is obviously is starting with these clubs. I'm planning on kind of staying between the 2 to 3 year mark. Uh, if possible longer, if that
yep,
opportunity arises somehow. Because I don't think some people need to be aware that there is those opportunities
yeah,
out there, depending on what club you go to. There is those opportunities there, and just see what I can build from those 2 to 3 years. From a year and a half, anyways, I've been able to do a lot of cool stuff and build a lot of knowledge within the industry and other industries as well that I've been already interested in. You know, I know it's all about hospitality when you're going over there, but with your time, your free time, you can build a lot of other things too,
yeah, of
while
course.
also being there. It's immense, you know. But
So what were some of your best experiences?
oh,
I mean, work related or not work related. Like, what were some of the highlights when you came home and you were telling family, like, "Oh my God, I got to experience this and that."
uh, I think going to a Chicago Cubs game for the first time was a very unique one. These stadiums look small. They ain't. They ain't ginormous. Maybe going traveling to LA for 12 days was another cool thing I was able to do. I was able to go see 2 NBA games, go to the a USC Trojans game, a college football game. Luckily, one of my buddies is a Paralympian in USC, so we were able to go to one of those cool
Yeah,
frat party places, a homecoming
yeah,
weekend. Being able to explore majority of Florida, majority of Illinois, majority of California, being able to just when you have the time, go to all these places that
yeah.
you're like, yeah, I was able to do the Hollywoods walk, able to see Jordan Lucas live. That was cool. There's so much to list off that you can't even pick a precise moment of
And as you
what
said
was
earlier,
peak.
and as you hinted at earlier, and you get to make some great friends.
Yeah, yeah. Like you meet the nicest people over there. You meet everyone that's in the same boat as you. You think that when you're on this program, you're gonna be going by yourself. In some ways, you are correct, but realistically, you ain't because every single person that you're going to be joining with also goes by themselves, unless they have a boyfriend or girlfriend.
Yeah,
Everyone else is on the same boat. You're not actually alone in this, which looks like you are, but you ain't. You meet the nicest people. One of my best friends are over there now,
yeah,
and we have to talk via phone and
yeah.
all that stuff. But it's just insane that the types of people you meet over there, it's mind-boggling.
And you get to experience some new cultures with obviously the people coming in from South Africa and the people coming in
Yeah,
from Italy and
absolutely. You get to
Portugal
learn
and the
a
rest of
lot
the
of
world.
cool words from South African people,
Yeah,
even Italian people as well, Portuguese occasionally. Like you get to understand the cultures of a lot of different regions and understand how what their home is like compared to your home,
yeah.
what their experiences are like, what their day-to-day life is, you know.
And even from all of what you got to explore online and everything we were able to share with you and all the different brochures and stuff you looked at, what was that first day arriving at Windsor like?
The first day was it was it's weird because you're obviously extremely nervous.
Yeah.
You're going into this new job as you are with every new job.
Mhm.
But when you're actually looking at Windsor and driving around Windsor and looking at all these houses, all these rich people with just simply walking their dog or
Yeah.
going for a cycle or going playing polo, which you don't know what that is yet. You will know
Yeah.
in a couple of months. Just the buildings that you're driving through, people with their golf carts and stuff, the big golf course that's within the middle of Windsor, you're just kind of like, oh my God.
This is work.
The horse stables, you're like, oh my, like you don't know how to actually comprehend it.
Yeah.
And when you're going through
Yeah.
a second time, it's the same feeling. You're just like looking around. There's a lake within Windsor. It's just,
And you're blessed, as you said. Windsor has the equestrian centre on site as well. They've got the big polo operation, but they've also on the beach. So you've sort of got the
yeah,
beach right in your back
yeah.
garden as well.
That's just
So
one side of Windsor. You cross the road into the
yeah,
other side of Windsor, and then there's just
uh,
a big beach there that you're just.
and I repeat myself a lot when I'm having these catch-ups and stuff with people, but it's like every year when I go back over and I go into these clubs, even the same clubs year after year, it's
Yeah,
like, wow, like
yeah,
this is seriously impressive.
yeah. Like even going looking at pictures, even at the simple things of a sunset at Windsor, it's
Yeah.
just insane. When like my club in Illinois, our back garden is a beach to a little beach of Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
It's like a little mini beach, a customized beach made by Lakeshore. Like that's our back garden.
Yeah.
Is that view? It's just insane. It's breathtaking. The stuff that you're able to see over there.
So, any advice or any sort of like tips or any words of wisdoms you would share with anyone who's either looking at it, who maybe hasn't applied or who has applied, and as we get to every year is stuck wondering, video clips really? I couldn't be bothered doing these video clips. Like, what would you share with any of those people to maybe give them a little bit more, I suppose, comfort or faith that they should follow through
Well,
and at least have this experience and see whether it is for them or not?
yeah. So when it goes down, if your feelings are of nerves, if you're nervous, that if you're nervous that much that you're kind of pushing yourself away from this opportunity, I understand, but just allow that to happen, and over time you will just build that confidence naturally to the point where you're like, yeah, this is fine, this is completely fine, this is the procedure, that's how it is. The whole you're going over to the States into a luxurious club, wherever that may be, getting a very good wage and getting a lot of benefits. There's a lot of costs that you don't have to pay for. There's a lot of things that you're getting just for
Yep.
being there and just for being a worker there. You can't let the simple things of nerves and fear and all that kind of put you away from it. You're given a lot of things on a silver platter here. The last thing they need you to do is be nervous. Don't be nervous. It's fine. There's nothing. Why are you being nervous for? Is the question you should be asking yourself. Why? If you're nervous about leaving your home, that's okay. Everyone goes through that,
Yep.
but you have to go through that.
Yep.
Don't stop yourself because you're so comfortable with your own little bubble at home. If you're going over to just party and not care about work, don't go. It's simple as that. Because if you do go, there's going to be a chance that you're going to go through a little midlife crisis, or you're going to be sent home.
Yep.
And that's just the way it is over there. As I said, it's not like those programs in Zante and in Ibiza, and where literally the priority is drinking and then kind of working.
Yep.
It's the opposite here. You can drink, you can have fun, just don't mess it up and don't let it interfere with your job. Regarding going over, if you're saying no, I don't want to go over, just ask yourself as well the question of what else are you going to do then. What do you want to do for the next 1, 2, 3 years? Just ask yourself that, because if you're going to say what you're going to do in the next 2 to 3 years is better than not Windsor, but with the whole program, okay, cool. But if you can't say it is going to be better, then why are you not going? It's an unreal opportunity, specifically for young people. There's a lot of things that are happening with this country at the moment that people are very kind of with knowing a lot of people my age, a little bit younger and a little bit older, that are looking to leave, as they're going to Australia, they're going to America, they're going to Canada, they're going to Spain, they're going to England, every location other than here.
Yep.
It's becoming a thing. It's becoming a new wave. You might as well join in and go along and take this opportunity, because even as we've previously mentioned, me and John, if you don't like it, you're not forced to stay there.
Yeah.
You might have a month or 2 months of pure. You're unsettled. You're not comfortable. You're not, not yet. I was like that. I was like that for a while.
Yeah.
And eventually I overcame it. I just got on with it. And simply because my dad forced me to. He's like, nah, you'll be fine, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. So don't say no to opportunities like this. Like,
And
really.
let me ask you this, for anyone who's sitting there at the moment, and I think we have 300 odd plus right now today, and we're about 10 days out from the first round of interviews, who haven't managed to figure out why they should complete those little video clips to be able to ultimately secure an interview, to ultimately probably be on a plane in October heading to Florida for at least 8 months, if not longer. What would you what would you share with those people?
Though if they're so nervous about video clips, like, don't, as I said, just do it. Just go for it. Just, again, be you, be talky, move around. It really isn't that difficult. You're making yourself think it's that difficult. Just think of talking to a human being. All right. Think of talking to someone in real life across the table. That's it. That's all it is. You're gonna add.
How many times did you record yours? I think each time I do it, it's about 15, 20 takes.
I nearly went into a little rage mode when I was doing mine, because I'd stutter once, and that to me was like, nope, get rid, bye. I'd be 2 minutes deep, and I'd be like, nope, the whole thing gone. I'd have to take like breaks for 5 to 10 minutes until I was able to really get it right. But you just look like a robot then if you do it like that.
I mean, and I suppose each year we learn as well. Like, we sort of changed up the video clip questions again for this year, and they're very much more just tailored about, like, why do you want to go to Florida, to America? Like, what do you want to get out of it? Like, what are you going to bring to the team? Like, what's your experience in hospitality? Like, how are you going to feel living away from home? It's nothing that's rocket science. It's just
no, and don't again with the whole long stories and stuff. You don't need to pitch a story to these people. Just don't sugarcoat things. Just be honest. Why do you want to go to Florida? Why not? Look at the opportunities that are there. What can I gain from being in Florida? It's just, that's it. Don't.
And sometimes it's, why not? I might as well.
Yeah, it's as simple as like, I'm not doing anything here. Why not? It's as simple. Just be honest with these people. That's all. Just say how it is.
So counting down the days to getting the return in October.
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously you're one of the lucky ones, as I say, because you did such a good job the first time around. You go straight to the offer from Windsor, so there's no interviews, there's no video clips, and it's just wait till September for the police clearance, the medicals, the embassies, and she'll end up playing in October with the new team and head back over to Windsor and enjoy another 8 months of work in the sun as well.
8 months are rough. That's an exciting thing.
Edward, look, it was a blast catching up. Thanks for sharing some insights and sharing a little bit about your experience over in the States.
Not a problem, John.
Looking forward to catching up with you again later on in the year and getting you organised and ready for another season over there. And hopefully watch that career develop and grow towards server captain, and who knows, maybe even further. Maybe you'll be one of the ones I'll be speaking in a couple of years who's going down the green card route and management with your country club, and it'll be a great experience. But definitely appreciate it, and thanks for your time.
Thanks, John. Till then.